Through the examination of Christabel, Maud, and Melusina, I will argue that art informs, not imitates, nature, or, more specifically, artistic discovery leads to self-discovery. This anti-mimetic approach postulates that what is found in life and nature is not what is really there, but is that which artists have taught people to find there through art. Thus, though art is indeed subjective, the study of poetry or prose lends us the opportunity for self-realization. Ultimately, we do not project unto art. Art projects unto us. If we examine Christabel, her inner struggles are evident. She yearns for the freedom to practice her art, and yet she is comfortable with the security that her home with Blanche offers. She loves Ash, but she fears the impact such a relationship will have on her independence. The greatest threat to Christabel is a society that demands a wife and mother of her and shies away from the autonomous woman. Christabel recognizes this foiling within herself, which is why she relates so strongly to Melusina. The mythic mother has been heavily referenced throughout Possession, and yet it is towards the end of the novel, and the end of Christabel's life, that we see the true depth of this comparison. On page 500, Christabel writes, "I was afraid, you see, that you would wish to take her, you and your wife, for your very own. And she was mine, I bore her. I could not let her go, and so I hid her from you, and you from her. For she would have loved you. There is a space in her life forever which is yours." This passage not only shows a slight reconciliation of Christabel's two selves, but a further connection to Melusina. This secret brings out the traditional woman in Lamont. Despite her need for autonomy, she could not bear the thought of losing her daughter entirely, even if her choice meant a loss of solitary artistry. Similarly, Melusina raised her children while bearing the tragedy of a serpent's tail. Though her independence was minimized as a mother and wife, she valued her family enough to hide her secret and her powers. On page 501, Christabel writes, "I have been Melusina these 30 years. While this serves to solidify the deep connection between the two women, it also muddles art and reality. Christabel is Melusina, Christabel is her art. The myth of Melusina already existed, but Lamont made a misunderstood masterpiece of her. Christabel did not make a conscious choice to create a sympathetic Melusina. Instead, all she could see was a sympathetic Melusina from the beginning. Melusina's secret is born from a fear of rejection, whereas Christabel's secret is born from a fear of love and loss. Yet Christabel does not identify with Melusina, but as Melusina. In a catch-22 of sorts, Christabel discovers herself through the discovery of Melusina. This is not necessarily an approach that nullifies mimesis in that the parallels exist with or without Melusina, but defends the power of art beyond the artist. It is a strange reciprocal arrangement in which the artist is born and realized through the creation of her own art. If we look at Maud, we find a similar circumstance. Through Maud's study of Lamont's writings, the academic discovers her true nature. Where she thought she was only ferociously independent, Maud's poetic discovery leads her to a gentler, more vulnerable side. She remains autonomous, and yet her deepened affections for Roland are suddenly obvious to her. But before Maud's journey, before the discovery of the real nature of Christabel, Maud was a wildly intelligent yet secluded individual. She related strongly with Christabel's fierce independence and commitment to her work. Both women feared that love would hinder their work and they would suffer a loss of autonomy. As she further explores Christabel's life and work, though, she sees other parallels. Though both women feared dependence, Maud sees the pain Christabel went through when she lost Ash, as well as the chance to raise her own child. This observation plants the seed of doubt in her choice to remain entirely independent. On page 430, Byatt writes, "If he went out of the room, it would be grey and empty. If he did not go out of it, how could she concentrate?" Here, Maud's transformation between two centuries is evident, where initially she positioned herself in the 19th century next to Christabel, by which she desired complete self-possession and autonomy. She now recognizes that there are drawbacks to such solitude. Though Maud is still somewhat caught between her choices as an academic and a lover, her consideration of the two coexisting is a gross change from her initial meeting with Roland, a time when she desired only her independence and the chance to immerse herself in her work. On page 506, Roland asks Maud, "But you don't want, do you, to be alone anyways? Or do you?" Maud responds, "I feel as she did. I keep my defenses up because I must go on doing my work. I know how she felt about her unbroken egg, her self-possession, her autonomy. I don't want to think of that going, you understand?" In this passage, though Maud still strongly relates to Christabel, she finally understands that her life can have a different ending. Where Christabel had little choice, Maud understands that she can exist in both a personal and a professional world. Her transformation is evident as she and Roland decide to work it out in a modern way on page 507. Thus, Maud's growth sprouts from Christabel's own life and work. Lamotte opens Maud's eyes to the possibility of another life. Christabel recognized her own true self through the exploration of Melusina, a powerfully misunderstood woman who guided Christabel's understanding of her inner dichotomies. Eventually, this self-awareness through her study of Melusina developed into Maud's own transformation through her study of Christabel. Unexpectedly, art lends both women the opportunity for self-discovery, even when it seems that art itself is all there is to discover. Oscar Wilde summarizes this best, writing that, "The self-conscious aim of life is to find expression. Art offers it certain beautiful forms through which it may realize that energy." Thus, though possession's cyclic nature of art is somewhat convoluted, it is ultimately what guides Maud and Christabel through their journeys of self-discovery. Ultimately in possession, art informs and life imitates. Lamotte and Maud both discover their true selves through artistic exploration and direction, as they both realize that pure self-possession is not all that one should desire. While Lamotte ultimately suffered and Maud transformed, both women found themselves through artistic guidance.